Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the November Curriculum Committee meeting. I'd like to officially call this meeting to order with approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now we need approval of the meeting minutes for November 3rd.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 3rd.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That brings us to items for discussion or action, and we will start with low-performing NC STAR restart plans. I'll turn it over to Dr. Breedlove.
Good morning, board members. Thank you once again for this opportunity to talk about a few academic items that we have. And the first on our agenda today is our low-performing schools presentation, and that is a distinction given by DPI. And I just want to start off by saying that we really have not had any school performance grades since the 2018-19 school year. And so this designation is left over from the 18-19 school year. And as such, DPI has required that schools that were at that time considered low performing with a school performance grade of a D or an F remain as considered low performing, regardless of what has transpired since then. And so with that fact, just as we always do and annually, low performing schools must present to the Board of Education. And we use, in Union County, we use our curriculum committee, and then that is then sent to the full board for approval, just as we do our NC STAR plans or school improvement plans across the board, as well as our focus school plans. And so this morning, we have two principals with us today, as Dr. Cindy Crawford over at East Union Middle School, and of course, Dr. Jamar Bellamy from the Health Science Academy at Monroe Middle School. And so we will start off this morning with Dr. Crawford at East Union Middle School, and she has a presentation that she will present based on improvements to East Union Middle, and then we'll follow, we'll allow her to present, and then any questions that the board has, and then following that, we'll go to Dr. Bellamy. So, Dr. Crawford.
Good morning, board members.
Good morning.
So the first slide, so this reflects, as Dr. Breedlove mentioned, this is really the last data as it relates to our school, overall school performance. We remain a performance grade of a D, and because we did not meet growth that year. But the next slide, this is the data that reflects last year. This is only our grade level proficiency data. And we did see a decrease in our grade level proficiency, as many schools across the district, across the state, did experience these challenges just due to the last year and a half. But certainly we are continuing to work to increase the grade level proficiency in all areas. So I'd like to share some accomplishments with you as we do continue to work for our school improvement. We did see a positive increase in our 8th grade science scores last year as it relates to grade level proficiency. We saw an increase in our teacher satisfaction rate. We did also see a decrease in our student referrals. And so how we came up with this data is that we looked at the 19-20 school year, and we looked at the data, the referral data from August through October, because all students were in school that year. And we compared that data to this year, August through October, and we did see a decrease in our student referrals. So that was good comparison data. Also, I just want to highlight we are an ag tech school, and we have increased our partnerships in our ag tech program. And we are having our teachers, our science teachers and our ag tech teachers to work really collaboratively on some projects this year, so that we're very excited about. So as far as our current challenges, the first one is our teacher staffing and retention rate. That is, I mean, we all know that it's challenging for everybody right now, but it is even more so for East Union. Our challenges are because we're a high priority school. And the second piece of that is our location. It is hard to kind of recruit teachers to drive that far, and we often hear that when we are trying to set up interviews. So that remains a challenge for us. A second challenge is just our student participation and engagement. Just coming off of the year and a half that we've had with the different challenges of the pandemic, really just getting our students back into the school building and reacclimating them. We've been working really hard on just the structures and the routines as it relates to the behavioral as well as academics. And then thirdly, this continues to be a challenge for us is our parent engagement and communication. From a reciprocal standpoint, sending out information, communicating with our parents, but also, the support and communication back from the parents.
Could I interrupt you?
Sure.
Would you mind interrupting you with questions along the way?
Okay.
Wait until the end, whichever you prefer. Staffing. I'm not surprised, but do folks not realize with the new toll, I call it new, I've been using it for years, the tollway right there dumps you right out at the school.
Yeah.
And you could come from Charlotte Matthews, get to your school faster than I can get to Stallings going the old way from
Right.
Monroe.
So when we try to recruit teachers, that is our selling point. However, when they look into how much it costs, that sometimes becomes a factor for many of them.
Interesting.
Would you prefer at the end? Because I can wait until you do your full presentation and ask my questions, Dr. Cross.
Okay.
I'll do that.
If you don't mind, I'll
Yes.
continue because
Yeah,
I might
please.
answer
Yeah.
some of the questions, but I'll be happy to answer at the end. So moving from our challenges, so some of the strategies that we do have in place as it relates to teacher staffing and retention, obviously we have the incentives from our EPIC grant. We also, this is where we use our restart flexibilities to address the challenges of our staffing issues. And specifically, we are able to hire teachers outside of their licensure, and that has helped us tremendously. We hired 10 new teachers this year. And so many of those hires are teachers who are outside of their licensure. And so just kind of to add to that, one of the strategies that we found to be successful this year, that is new this year, is the additional teacher assistants. So we were able to hire 3 teacher assistants, and we are pairing those teacher assistants with those 10 new teachers to provide support in the classroom for behavioral support as well as academic. So as far as student participation and engagement, we're just offering a lot of student incentives. We are a PBIS school, and so just really offering the incentives. Obviously, our Ag Tech program is exciting for our kids. We have the Wayfind program. So those are the strategies as it relates to our student participation and engagement. And then our third area, the strategies as it relates to parent engagement and communication, really just trying to over communicate, making sure we're reaching out to parents, and also with parent surveys, because we want to hear from parents what their concerns or their needs are. So gathering that information from parent surveys. So our strategies, these are the 3 goals that we are working on that is in our school improvement plan. The first goal is effective classroom management. And as I mentioned, we are a PBIS school, And this is where we do use our restart flexibilities. We are able to hire additional teachers with the intent of reducing the class size numbers, because we know when we reduce class size numbers, then that reduces our behavior, as well as it supports the academics as well. Our second goal is standards align instruction. We do have our teachers meeting PLCs on a regular basis. We have vertical alignment meetings. We just finished up a meeting yesterday where all of our content teachers met to discuss vertical alignment. We do allow our teachers to observe each other to highlight the good things going on in the classrooms. The third goal is to continue to implement and improve our tier instructional support system. We do utilize our data to plan our intervention groups to support our students. And then lastly, I've mentioned Ag Tech several times, but like I said, we're very excited about our Ag Tech program. We collaborate with our Ag Tech Extension, the Ag Tech Center and the North Carolina Extension. They have come and provided professional development to our science teachers. Our science teachers are working with the Ag Tech teachers. Just to name a few, our sixth grade, earlier, a few weeks ago, planned a Mars base camp unit, and the kids really loved that. So they were learning how to sustain life on Mars. Our seventh grade is getting ready to start a gene pool party where they're studying animal genetics. And then our eighth grade is getting ready to start a plant power where they're going to be looking at biofuels. So we're very excited about that. And our Ag Center, as well as, the North Carolina Extension, has really been very supportive in helping us to do this. So we are in phase 2 right now of our Ag Tech program, where we're integrating with our science teachers. And our next phase is really to make it more comprehensive, where we're involving all content, the math, the language arts, and everybody.
And I'll just would like to build on that just so that you all are aware of kind of what we're thinking. This is a very replicable program for other schools, and similar to what we've done with health sciences last year, we are looking to grow this ag tech approach, which is really STEM, vertically. We have a couple of elementary schools in the Forest Hills feeder pattern that are very interested in bringing that approach to their school. And then obviously Forest Hills High School. And I'd like to come back in May, perhaps, to this board to give you an update on, or a proposal really, in March or April for your consideration to vertically expand so that this can be a K-12 vertically aligned curriculum as opposed to just middle school. Last year was the first year we had HSA at 2 elementaries and the high school. We have the similar vision for this approach in the Forest Hills cluster, which is very exciting. So
when you
just wanted to add that on.
When you say phase 2, that means the second year, or is that the second year of the program here at East Union?
Well, we've had our Ag Tech program. We started that last year, but it's a little bit more challenging. So we needed another year to really work on that phase 2.
That makes sense. So we've got one more, the next school year before those students are ready for high school. Right? Well, I guess it depends on how you count. When are the first students that have been engaged in the program going to graduate to high school? Will that be the next school year?
I believe that we started with the current 8th graders when they were in 6th grade, right? So that the current 8th graders have had 3 years of ag tech classes and curriculum. They will be freshmen at the high school next year.
So start of the 2022 school year, you'll have your first cohort in high school.
Correct.
We're getting ready for that.
Which is why we want to launch next fall the idea of the high school programming and then the 2 feeder elementaries to make it a K-12.
Okay. would you care to give a shout out for some of the private industry that is invested in the program? Give them a little shout out.
Well, we've worked really closely with Crystal Starks, who is part of the 4-H. She's part of the North Carolina Ag Extension. What we're really working on this year is to, find some community members to allow our students to go on what we call field experiences, not a field trip, but field experiences, so that they can see it in action and learn in the field what they're learning in the class.
Okay. Does Wingate University? I'm just wondering if you're smiling, so I guess you're going to tell me.
Well, on November, you must have been reading my mind.
Yeah.
When we get back from the Thanksgiving break, Dr. Breedlove and staff and I have a meeting with Dr. Brown, the president at Wingate University, and his team to really think through their past involvement and really how they can grow their involvement with us. They currently, I believe, are not offering anything in the form of an ag tech licensure from a college of education standpoint, but there are many other colleges within or departments within the university that we believe would be interested in further partnering, especially when we get to the high school level and the elementary. So that is a planning discussion we're having the week we get back from Thanksgiving.
That would be phenomenal, because I know a lot of Union County Public Schools students, particularly the veterinarian program over at Porter Ridge. A lot of students feel that they have to go all the way to Raleigh to NC State for these type of certifications and fields. And if we could bring that to Union County through a partnership with Wingate University, that would be phenomenal.
And I'm wondering if there's even opportunities with SPCC for some programs that might not require a 4-year degree, very, very specialized kind of things, like try and find somebody in Union County who could shoe a horse. Quite a challenge. Veterinary science for larger animals is in great demand. So we might have some opportunity with SPCC for some programs other than a 4-year degree that might be of a technical nature.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to give Wingate University a shout out. They applied for a grant, and they reached out to us, and our students were able to participate in 3 different Saturday sessions where they did visit local farms and had different activities, and our students got to meet some of the basketball players. They fed them lunch, and they had a really great time. So I do want to give them a shout out for that. It was all ag related.
So I would just like to commend you and your leadership team for, the work you're doing at East Union. It does not go unnoticed. So I just want to say thank you. The one thing that I did notice on slide 2, clearly the ag tech program is making a difference, because when you're looking at 31% achievement, 22, 29%, and then you double that in 8th grade science. And Dr. Houlihan says that the current 8th graders have now had 3 years of, that ag tech science experience. And so looking at the reading and math, which is half of what your science performance is for your 8th grade students, this is impressive to see that gain. So what I'm curious about is what kind of tutors might you have or not have for reading and math to make some gains there. So it's a 2-part question. What can we do for reading and math to achieve what we're seeing in science? And secondly, what are your plans you've done a wonderful job hiring, 10 teachers, 3 TAs. I wanted to hear about tutors.
So we do have our 7th grade math tutors. And so we strategically utilize them to help support our math. We do have a reading interventionist. And so she helps to support. We've identified students, what we consider our tier 2 students who need that extra support. We also have an intervention time each day in which we look at our data to determine what do our students need. And so we plan intervention instruction based upon the needs from the data related to reading and math. I will add to that. I mean, we know that there are wider gaps because of the last year and a half, but we certainly focus on those, what we call those overarching standards. And, that's what we really focus on when we're providing those interventions.
So you currently only have tutors, adult tutors, not 7th grade tutors, but you have tutors for the 7th grade math students.
Correct.
So Dr. Houlihan and Dr. Breedlove, I guess my only question is could you help her team consider 6th grade and 8th grade math tutors? Because I know since you've been with us the last 6 years, I know math tutors have shown to be, very beneficial and have proven gains over the last few years since you've been with us. So I just wonder if maybe we could help her get some 6th grade and 8th grade math tutors. And math is such a wonderful companion with science.
Absolutely. And, Dr. Harris is here also. And so I wanted him to hear the discussion. Our tutoring focus in these 2 middle schools specifically, because they were our original focus, are dedicated to 7th grade. Just like in elementary, they're dedicated to 4th. So every 7th grader is getting a double dose every single day. I think, expanding that and looking at 6th and 8th is something that we obviously can do. I think the challenge that we're still having is finding the people also. And so, again, Dr. Harris is with us, and we'll be glad to look into that.
For example, she mentioned earlier not having a teacher certification, so, there are people like me out there, that would be willing with an architecture or an engineering background that is very strong in math, maybe even accounting professionals that would be more than happy to come to these 2 schools. I think one of the biggest hesitations for those professions is that they don't have a teacher license. But for these 2 schools, I truly believe there are people in our community that would want to come say, wow, I didn't even know I could, come to your school and use my math expertise to help your students.
Well, and that's another conversation we'll be having with Wingate University, because their students, particularly who might be math majors, or, we have mentors right now for our Wayfind scholars. And we have kids that would stay after school or come on a Saturday for tutoring, if we could provide transportation. So these are all other options that we're going to be looking into.
And I do want to add that they are designated for 7th grade. But when our 7th grade students are in their related arts, then that does allow us to push our tutors to 6th and 8th grade for that one block. And so when I say strategically, that's what we do when we're creating their schedule.
That's perfect. So how many math tutors do you have for 7th grade?
We have about 10.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, I didn't, that is wonderful to hear.
We're well covered.
Okay, okay. So even though they're designated for 7th grade, you definitely have already implemented a plan for 6th and 8th.
Yes.
Okay, that is wonderful to hear. Thank you for, sharing that. That changes a lot. So let's talk about transportation. The first thing that I came to mind is, with all the ESSER funds and, the EPIC grant, can we not provide these candidates with, a toll pass? Or are we offering toll passes to potential candidates, to help curve that? Because I'm sure sitting in Charlotte traffic is longer than us providing UCPS toll passes to get people here.
I actually have reached out to Dr. Harris about that, and he did look into it. And because of the way that is funded, we are not able to do that.
So can we do that locally? I mean, is that something we can talk to Shauna and see if there's something we can do locally to get, really great candidates, on the bypass? Because I zip around on that bypass like nobody's business, but I would much rather get on that bypass and come work in Union County than to deal with Charlotte traffic.
And you're probably looking at cost about, well, for me, it's a little more because we're going, but like $20 a month per vehicle is about an average cost, I believe.
So as a recruitment strategy, we have been talking about trying to get a pass for employees to come to her school. And so we took an avenue with Dave Burnett. And so we're working with him. He couldn't go down that route, but we're looking at other alternatives that we can sort of get that to happen. So.
Well, and I think it's a larger question for not just East. I know we're talking about East Union, but I think if we were able to do something, to be honest with you, providing that for any of our employees in the Forest Hills cluster, that could be a huge benefit for the eastern side of the county. So it might be a larger discussion also.
Absolutely, but I want to start with these two. I mean, we have these two schools with us today, and our priority is to take care of you. So, I mean, even if it was like a pilot or whatever, I would like to do whatever we can to help these two leaders.
I know
I have
you're
a
not.
question.
No, go ahead.
I hear we're talking about the transportation piece, not as it pertains to teacher staffing and retention. Is that the number one challenge that you all are having as far as staffing?
I would say yes, because when I have a position posted and I'm not getting any bites from it, I reach out to a lot, and I say a large number, and many of them, probably 80% respond back and say, thank you for thinking about me, but it's just too far of a drive. That is probably the number one thing.
My second question is with the staffing component. I know that the staff that you currently have, they know people and staff and faculty, they talk. What are some of the reasons or feedback that they've given that they may feel as though is one of the challenges along with the transportation issues for staffing at East Union?
Well, I think because we are a high priority school, and with that does come some additional challenges,
Absolutely.
both academically and behaviorally.
And positives. I mean, because
Mhm.
there's financial incentives
Right.
to join your team.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. I heard you mention about parent surveys, looking to provide those to the community parents. How are you guys looking to make sure that parents complete those surveys and that they're getting their put out in the community?
So I have a weekly communication that I send out, and so including the link to the survey in that. I know that does not get to everyone, so providing a paper copy as well. So sending communication that a survey is coming home. You can fill it out digitally, or we will be sending a paper copy. Please return it. We just want to make sure that we get it. And of course, it will be in English and Spanish.
Okay. I have a couple more questions. The AG program that you all mentioned, what other programs are available? Because that is a strong program, but I know that everyone may not be interested in that program, but if other programs were provided, you may get more involvement. So what other programs do you guys have at East Junior?
Well, we do have our other related arts classes. Ag Tech, well, we have 2 Ag Tech teachers, which is part of our related arts classes. And so we have other teachers, band, art, Spanish. So they do have other opportunities to, to go a different route if they are interested in any of those areas.
Y'all have clubs?
We do. We started
Okay.
clubs this year.
Okay.
We're doing them once a month. We're doing them during school. And it has been a success, and the kids are begging for it to happen more often than once a month. So we're listening to them, but that has been a huge success, and they are really loving the clubs.
Okay. I have a strong investment in East Junior because I am a former Eagle, and I worked there under your watch.
Yes.
And so one of the best experiences of my life, I guess. And I know quite a few people who, because I am from Marshville and connected to quite a few people, I know that a lot of my family has transitioned through East Junior. So, and knowing the previous history of the school, the strengths and the weaknesses, because anything successful has both, and I know that we have to really empower our families to get more involved and making sure that we do have the right staff to support the work that the Eagles have produced throughout the years. And so those are all the questions that I have, and whatever I can do to revive the community to be more a part, I'm willing to do it because it's disheartening to see a school that is very historical in our community being challenged like this, and knowing the disadvantages of Title I schools. Again, not just working there, but starting out in CMS when I graduated from college. I worked at some of the most challenging schools in CMS. And so I know all about trying to get people to work and distance and just dealing with all of the challenges. So I get it. All right. But I know that there can be a turnaround. And again, whatever I can do on my part, I'm willing to do it. I know there's some interested individuals who are wanting to invest to help make sure that this D school evolves. And just because it's a D, it doesn't mean that it's a terrible school. And I want our community to know that when we look at these schools and we see these ratings, it doesn't mean that, oh, this is a bad school. No, there's a lot of things that our families have to contend with throughout the day. And so what I may not have to deal with, another family may have to. And so I'll never understand the challenges that they have, which has a lot to do with the rotation throughout the day of how school and how academics are perceived and accomplished. So I just want our community to know that the schools on the east side are not terrible schools. East Union is not a terrible school. Monroe is not a terrible school. Those Monroe cluster schools and Forest Hill cluster schools are positive schools. We just need the support from the community and the right people to be a part. So I appreciate the work that you all are doing, you and your staff. It takes a strong individual to work under these circumstances, and you just have to get to the bottom of it and strengthen. And sometimes you have to take away, and you got to add to. So, but again, as I mentioned a few moments ago, whatever I can do to help support you guys, I'm willing to do it. Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you.
Those are great questions. Oh, absolutely. Let me try to get a couple questions. You have
Can you hear me now?
You have a PTSO, yes.
We do.
Okay, good. And the vertical expansion of ag tech, which elementaries are we thinking?
The two principals that have expressed interest are Ms. Deaton at Union Elementary and Mr. Johnson at Wingate Elementary.
And what kind of community members are you looking for the field trips or farm trips?
I think it really just depends on what we're studying at the time, whether it's in the area of food related or maybe the other side of agriculture, the land side of it. So really just kind of what we're studying at the time.
So farming related,
yes,
not animal farms, but
both,
both.
both,
Okay.
both.
Because there's lots of people that have that. So hopefully we
Right.
can get some people that would be glad to let there be a farm trip.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
I think if Marshville and Wingate, if they don't have anything else, we got farms. And we got a lot of land. All right. Okay. I had another question. As far as the staffing, I mentioned about making sure the right people are part of the team. What is, because I know that East Union has a high population of families of color that make up that great school. What is the ratio of staff and faculty that looks like a lot of the students that you all serve?
I don't know the exact, but I do know that we have, good representation
Okay.
of that reflect our population of students, and that is always something that we are considering as well when we are hiring.
Anybody? I'd like to get your opinion on this as a educator as well as principal of East Union. Ms. Kathy Heintel, who's our vice chair and also chair of the finance committee, is doing some preliminary investigation, information gathering on the opportunity in next year's budget, operating budget, to potentially fund middle school sports. Don't know what it's going to look like. Don't know what the numbers are, but beyond just football, we could be looking at basketball, volleyball, soccer, track, cross country. What am I missing? Who knows? Even lacrosse. I would like to get your opinion on the potential morale, if you will, or interest of the student body if these sports were funded, and we're talking about transportation, an athletic director to organize it, coaches, equipment and uniforms, the whole deal. I would just like your comments off the cuff of the opportunity for a positive impact on your school if that was indeed, we were able to carry that to fruition.
Well, I first of all want to say we would definitely have interest from our students. And what we see from our athletics right now is that there is a motivation because you have to have good academic standing. And so that does motivate our students. So if we had more sporting opportunities for our students, it would certainly have a positive impact.
Do you want to comment on that too?
You're going to get asked that question too. So if you want to jump in now, go right ahead.
So I would definitely agree with that. Kids are motivated by sports. They are very athletic and very good at it, and it's a motivation for them. So if we did have more opportunities for our students, I think it would help out positively within our schools.
The sports component, excuse me, Mrs. Sides, is there a way we can balance it out? And the reason I say it is because, yes, sports is a motivator, but from past experiences and current experiences, a lot of our students, they focus on the sport component, which even though they have to have a certain criteria, a lot of them are not able to balance out sports and life and academics. And so it is a challenge for especially our young boys of color, because their focus is, I want to be an NFL player. And they're not aspiring, they're aspiring for that and not understanding the importance of having good behavior as well as being strong in their academics. So is there a way, because we don't want to take away all of that, but is there a way we can balance this thing out?
So responding to that, with our athletics, when kids are involved in sports, they honestly put forth more effort academically. I think with them having that aspire to be an NFL player or NBA player, I think we need to expose them to more. There's more things out there than just being professional star. Again, that lack of exposure. But when they are involved, they are well behaved. The academics do increase because they have that someone's holding them accountable. Because if I don't have this grade in math class, I can't play on the field. So they had that accountability. So they are trying a lot harder, and they are successful.
Okay.
So it's just, again, get that motivation for them.
And I think that's where our special programs come in as well, is just, helping them to have other opportunities,
Yes,
those
ma'am.
academic opportunities. So I think that helps with the balance.
And one thing to add to that, similar to the high school, when there are vacancies in math or in ELA and science, one of the things that you look at doing as well is hiring teaching staff that are also coaches, because you have that accountability inside the school, and having that coach as also a teacher first and foremost goes a long way into just providing that oversight to all students. That's a big deal for schools.
Oversight and mentoring opportunities. Not to mention, I can only speak from experience as the son of a high school football coach, the responsibility, discipline, as well as taking serious your schoolwork, because the last thing you want to happen is to have to miss a game because you blew off your math test. So I appreciate that feedback from both of you. And I also want to commend, and I know I promised to get out there and look at your greenhouse, and I'm still going to do it. But this thing about the biofuels, I think that is really, I'll tell you what you need to do if you haven't already, is get up with the automotive technology there at Forest Hills and have them modify a car so you can run it on your corn oil or whatever it's going to be. Because I want to ride in that thing. Yeah.
So this has been a really great conversation. So I had 3 things in closing. Wonderful presentation. Thank you again for what you're doing. On slide number 2, I don't know if this is possible, but is there any way to replicate slide number 2 to the end of your presentation and tell us what your goals are for 2022? Like, for 6th grade reading and math, what do you think you can achieve from 31% to what would you like to see in this next year? 22% in math. What would you think would be reasonable to see in 2022? So I'd kind of like to see that slide replicated at the end on what kind of goal you think is achievable this school year. And again, what we can do from a marketing campaign with human resources to maybe work with recruiting and maybe even select a location in Charlotte and map the distance to your school, because I think we need to prove that we can get you there faster. And this would be a great team to join. So I want to maybe work with Dr. Harris and do like some kind of marketing slide with your background, your team's background, and this Ag Center. Just really promote this school and prove that transportation may not be a hurdle. So that the slide, the marketing campaign, and my last question, so we can move on to your presentation, because we can't wait to hear what the great things that you're doing. How many teacher vacancies do you have right now?
0.
Great job. Great job. Okay.
Ms. Merrill, I
Thank you
will
so
add, before Dr. Crawford leaves, on the marketing, I was reminded that Ms. Stalbert and her team also met with Dr. Crawford's leadership team last week or the week before, specifically to your point about not just marketing for recruitment of staff, but also marketing the school in general and the wonderful things that are happening. So I would expect more to come from the school and from the district about East Union.
If I was someone looking for an education job and I saw you and the team that you have at your schools, if I could see that, when I got your emails or your job posting or whatever, I wouldn't be so quick to turn that phone call down. Because I think people need to see what you're doing. So, and again, these are the two schools that are with us today, and we need to address these two immediately.
I just want to say thank you all for your support, your feedback, your thoughts. I really appreciate that.
And I just to clarify, is Dr. Harris going to be our point person is trying to figure out a way to subsidize or a workaround on the tollway fee transportation issue?
He's your point of contact. Yes, sir.
All right. So we'll look forward to, I don't know if this committee or finance or whoever is going to inherit it, but we'll look forward to seeing what we can help you out with getting those folks down the tollway to East Union.
I'm Dr. Bellamy, principal at the Health Science Academy at Monroe Middle School. So looking at our performance grade for the 2018-19 school year, we were a D. We did meet growth that year. We were actually 1 point up from a C that year, so we did very well. Looking at our grade level proficiency data for the 2021 school year, again, we did see some losses there just due to the impact of COVID and the kids being virtual for a little bit. Now, to highlight some accomplishments, we have had a lot of teachers that have been trained in the CHAMPS framework. We had successful use of our master teachers, and our parent council is growing a lot this year. We got a new officers appointed. So that is a huge shout out, a big step for us going in the right direction. And then Wayfind has been a huge success this year. The program just started. We had an information session already, and we have over 30 applicants already. So that has been a positive shout out to Wingate University. Some of our current challenges, it's been staff morale and retention due to some vacant positions, teachers being out for a variety of reasons, COVID or other illnesses. People have been having to cover classes for part of their planning, and we cannot find subs. It's been a struggle for us. Student engagement has been an issue for us as well, just with students being back in school full time, getting used to being there and not having the ability to hop behind a computer or cut the camera off. So just getting them back engaged in school. And then our negative student behaviors, again, that goes along with getting kids acclimated to being back in school, following rules and procedures and having a set schedule. That has been a challenge for us this year going in. And also that goes back to, again, just vacancies and staffing. So looking at our SIP goals, some strategies we're looking at, classroom management is one of ours, students' emotional state, and communication with parents. I'm going into more detail with this on the next slide. So to address these issues in our plan for success, we want to have more opportunities to praise students and staff and faculty. We want to increase collaboration with our culture coach, have more staff development on CHAMPS framework. Again, our coaches to provide more instructional feedback, some data monitoring and student engagement. And also with HSA, just collaborate with the elementary and high school, make sure we're still aligned, moving in the right direction. That is a big hit for us just going in the future. Also want to have more opportunity for students to voice their concerns and kind of is their school. So let them shape their school and their environments and have more of a voice. Increase parental involvement. That is big for us this year. We want parents involved. We want parents in the build supporting us. We want volunteers. That is a big push for us this year. Continue to use our POCs and let teachers collaborate on what's the best practices for students. And with that social emotional piece, we want to empower our counselors to kind of address those issues. As you guys know, this summer, our community took a few hits this summer. So some kids are still kind of hurting and kind of having challenges based around that.
Can you elaborate real quick on your parent council in terms of when that started and how you've seen that grow? And what is your current participation rate?
So with our parent council, we do not have a PTO. So we started maybe 3 years ago trying to get parents together. We had very few parents involved. It was more staff members and a few parents here and there. So it's slowly evolving. This year, we had a huge turnout on our first meeting. And I'm gonna say we had maybe 8 families that came out and brought their kids, and we're creating those families to be part of our site-based team as well. So on our site-based now we have parents, we have a parent voice, we have student voice as well, as long as staff members. So it is huge for us this year. And we want to increase. We got a parent volunteers coming in our building now, kind of supporting with transitions from the parent council. And we're working together to kind of get the community more involved. So it's been a positive impact so far this year for us.
How many openings do you have at your school?
Currently I have 2 openings.
2? And if somebody wanted to become a part of the parent council, that's a community member, like who do they talk to at your school?
One of our teachers, our lead teacher, Quintana Maddox.
Maddox?
And for Spanish speaking, Jennifer Ruiz.
Okay. Because I told you, a friend of mine is on your parent council, so I'm excited to get involved there.
Please join us.
And I know we have great community members that help at East Elementary, so it would be great to have the community. I know, that's what I'm thinking, right? So we work vertically.
Yes, that'd be excellent.
Okay. And then the HSA ambassador, is that something new?
It is not new. It started with our HSA program. It kind of, with COVID, because they're so involved with the medical piece, it kind of hindered us a little bit. But it is nothing new. Those are our leaders, student leaders in the building, who want to take the medical route when they get older. And also they want to keep on that path into high school. They have taken the lead on things within the building. It is their program. They want to do community service. So they are raising money now for field trips to do community things within the community. Like they're raising money, doing bake sales and things of that nature. It's their program. They're leading it. They are the face. It's amazing to see them go at it.
How many of those do you have? Yeah.
30, a little over 30. Yes. Yes, sir.
Do they ever go to, it's East and Walter Bickett that have the elementary programs. Do they ever go to those schools and do anything there with the students?
So in the past, yes. Now that COVID is kind of joining a little bit, I actually talked to the principal at Walter Bickett, and they're having a career fair. And so we want to invite our kids over to participate in that as well.
Okay. And how many tutors do you have at your school?
We have 11.
Okay. So you don't feel like you're in a shortage anywhere of tutors?
With tutors, no.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Dr. Bellamy, is the program, at one time you all had Big Brothers, Big Sisters, or the Boys and Girls Club. Are they still involved at Monroe Middle?
So they're no longer housed at Monroe Middle School. They're now housed at Walter Bickett. And our kids do participate in that program as well.
Okay.
And we got a bus that takes them over there after school to get there.
Where are the Boys and Girls Clubs?
Walter Bickett.
Oh,
I'm not sure the other school, Walter Bickett.
Well, I'm afraid we asked so many cumulative questions.
That's the problem with going first, see?
I just want to, and Sarah took my questions, but no, it's great. But I just want to say thank you. I love seeing the energy and the passion and everything for leading these two schools, and seeing your presentation and the wonderful things that are happening with your students on your campus is just extremely comforting as a board member to know what you're doing on a day in, day out basis while we suffer through budget and policy issues. But I just want to say thank you. You're doing a great job. And barely a point away. So just please keep up the great work, and coming out of this COVID situation, I say let's open the gates and get you both the things that your students deserve and need.
Thank you.
Now, this is your first year at Monroe Middle
As the principal,
as the principal. How long have you been at the school? How long is your entire tenure at the school?
This is my 7th year.
7th. But this is your first go around doing this fun and games.
That's correct.
Well, we're lucky to have someone of your character and quality to fill the shoes of your predecessor and be such a well-known commodity there, not someone coming in anew from another school. So we're very, very lucky to have both of you in the places where you are. And whatever we can do, if it hadn't already been asked already, now's your chance. I always do at this thing. Is there anything that your Board of Education needs to do to support you and your school that we're not doing?
And we can handle it.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Now's the time.
I would just say, just come out and visit us, because we could tell you what's going on, but visiting the school, you get to see it in action. So you all are welcome to come anytime.
And I will echo that. Please come out and visit. Also, you help us rally community members who want community support in our building. That's a big one for us.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is I think that this committee and the board, all of us, said this to the group yesterday. We desperately want our communities back involved in our schools in some form or fashion, whether that's on the weekends or after school or during the day. So anything that we can do to help get our community back invested in these two schools is a big, big push.
I appreciate the invitation because I saw a memo yesterday where volunteers were being asked not to come in for lunch duty and other issues, and it was indicated that perhaps it was a board issue. So I just want to thank you for the invitation that post COVID or on hopefully the back end of COVID. I appreciate the invitation because a lot of times. Sometimes we feel like we're not invited or asked to be there because we truly want to partner with you and be by your side. So, that was a memo that went out to some of our schools yesterday that parents were not going to be allowed to come into the schools. But I promise you our Board of Education will take you up on your invitation and be consistent with it because you're doing great work and we need to get you over that finish line.
And I'll go a step further. Before this COVID mess hit, and maybe you remember, Dr. Bellamy, I invited, as a resident of Monroe, I invited at the time the Monroe City Council and mayor to tour and see the great things happening in Monroe Middle, of which they did take me up on, and they were so impressed. And I will offer the same. I don't really know anyone in the Marshville City Council, but I would be more than happy to offer to facilitate your local elected officials in your community to arrange through your staff a visit to your schools and see the good works going on. So if that's okay with you, I'm going to reach out and I'll see if I can't put that together maybe in between the holidays or after, whenever. Get the folks out, to see your good works.
Especially, Mr. Side, since we have had some change in leadership on city council and mayor, so it might be a good opportunity. Just to close this out, I want to say thank you to you both. We'll let you get back to your schools. They're doing a remarkable job. And thank you to your entire staff because we know that you're working hard and we appreciate you both. Thank you.
And Dr. Bellamy, I'm going to come by so you can teach me how to tie a necktie like that. I've never seen it. I love it. All right. So.
That brings us next to the social studies curriculum update for civics and elementary the third grading period.
Last month, we finished off high school world history and also our finance course. And so we will continue on. We needed that extra month to work on our elementary standards so that we could have those ready for you today, as well as introduction to our civics standards. So just like we've had in the past, I've asked our team who has built the standards to join us today. And of course, Dr. Rogers will lead us off in discussing them. So, Dr. Rogers.
Good morning, board members. I'm happy to be here to review some social studies units with you. As always, I would like to just recognize the diligent, the excellent work done by our social studies writing teams. We continue our efforts towards creating the units aligned with our state standards and the supporting documents from DPI. So I would like to say thank you to our team. Thank you. So just as a quick overview, K2 units, just as a reminder, have a teacher Canvas course that is utilized to facilitate the lessons, and the 3-5 units have a student Canvas course that is utilized so students can access resources and materials for the unit lessons. In grades 6 through 8, those units were reviewed at the last meeting on November 3rd, and curriculum writing for middle school has been completed. There are no new units to present for review. We are presenting the term 3 units at the elementary level, and for high school, we're presenting civic literacy, which contains ideas of citizenship and the duties and responsibilities of citizens as well as government, political parties, public policy, civil liberties, and rights. So we'll do what we've done previously. I'd like to just give a brief overview of the term 3 elementary units, and then I'll open it up to questions. So with our elementary units, the concepts focus around what's around me and exploring the new world or the world, including geography and landforms, immigration, transportation, sports and economics, culture in our community and region, history and people of North Carolina, and U.S. government and influential figures of change and innovation. So what questions do you have?
I didn't have any questions, but I just wanted to piggyback what you said to thank you for all the work, because I know this has been quite encompassing to get all of this done for this school year.
Thank you.
I had a question, and this is on the 5th, this is the 5th grade influential figures of change and innovation. I pulled up the Inquiry 6 influential figures of change and innovation, and I noticed we have Sonia Sotomayor as a Supreme Court justice, and I was curious, and maybe this is covered in another area, maybe under civil rights, but Thurgood Marshall, the first African-American Supreme Court justice, I wondered why he wasn't on the list.
All right, I'd like to ask our elementary team to come up and provide some details for that.
Yeah, so we have several different people there. We tried to represent different groups of people. The standard would definitely fit Thurgood Marshall. We could look at adding something with that. We kind of looked at trying to go with some more lesser known, maybe kind of people, but we could, because a lot of people already know about some of the people. So we tried to go a little bit with some lesser known.
I would contend that our elementary students may not know that name.
Okay.
I would throw out Colin Powell. I think there's a lot of names that could be added to this list.
Okay.
So I would
Great.
encourage you to look, especially when you're connecting the 3 branches. I would look at all 3 branches and identify, some more names than
Sure.
what is shown.
And how about our first female Supreme Court justice?
Mhm. Yes, thank you for that feedback. We can do
Yeah.
that. Yes, ma'am.
And again, he may be covered under local North Carolina politics somewhere else, but our own favorite son, the late Senator Jesse Helms, is if he's, would certainly be on this list, if not covered somewhere else.
Thank you.
And
Take that
I
feedback.
would add to that, I don't know if anyone on this team, and you can nod if you've been, but have you visited the Jesse Helms Center? It is like a hands-on history book, and I think people would be really shocked and surprised at the relationships and friendships that he had with other countries and other states, and other people than North Carolina people. It is a beautiful, beautiful attraction, and I think students, they even replicated his office in DC, and they have a library of all the letters. They actually have letters from President Biden to Jesse Helms when they worked together in DC. There is so much, so I would encourage at least the four of you to go visit to see what kind of field trips you might want to take the students there to see this year. It is absolutely beautiful, and there's a eagle. They even have an outdoor auditorium with, I think, the largest eagle statue in the country or the world, but all the flags and things from Margaret Thatcher, and absolutely beautiful facility that I think our students would enjoy with these lessons. And I think you'd be shocked and surprised at the content there in that museum.
Thank you for sharing that. We'll definitely look into that.
I want to second that, having visited numerous occasions. It is a wonderful historical facility right here in our own county. I think on the level of the new Science Center in Monroe, which I'm sure we will utilize as well. I'd almost like, that's an easy day trip. That should almost be a mandatory field trip for whatever age appropriate, class appropriate, when you're studying North Carolina
Right.
politics. That should be a gimme, frankly, with that facility.
I would
So,
encourage our teachers, like, if they're looking for a field trip, look at these lessons and then contact Brian Rogers or Jeff Atkinson and say, this is the unit we're currently on. Do you have something there in your center that would, that would relate, that the students could see that someone in our community worked on a global level with this unit? You could contact Mr. Atkinson or Mr. Rogers. But I would also let you know that they have a leadership academy every summer, and they offer scholarships so that students can stay at Wingate University during the summer and go through their leadership entrepreneur program at their facility. And they have, and they teach them how to do debates and work on each side. So I would just really, really encourage you to get in touch with Jeff Atkinson and Brian Rogers, because they are doing amazing things, and they are eager to get, the Monroe students, all Union County students. They actually have more students coming from other counties and other states flying in for this leadership academy. And they're struggling to get Union County students. And I'm just telling you, it is a historical treasure trove. And they are eager to give scholarships to Union County students for this past summer. They weren't as successful. I went to their luncheon and got to hear the guest speakers and everything and meet some of the students from other districts. But just please know they are eager. They have scholarships, and they are eager to get our students in their leadership program and to learn how to be an entrepreneur.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We'll look into that.
To second that, they also sponsor speakers coming into the general public. They've had Margaret Thatcher. I was in the cheap seats, but I got to see that one. They have international figures that they sponsor and bring in that would be, of course, it's after hours, evenings, weekends, what have you, but they are just a gem right here in our midst, that it is just a crying shame if we are not utilizing to the fullest all their resources of political, Union County history, North Carolina history, all right there in Wingate. Yes.
But when I was there, they had a education consultant, and we can connect after this meeting. But they have an education consultant. He is out of California and Florida, but he actually worked with the students this summer and provided free of charge his tool for every one of the students that were at that summer camp, that they could do a self-inventory, asking questions, and it helped them know what kind of classes they ought to be looking for in taking in high school, and what fields might be they need to be preparing in high school to prepare for college and career readiness. But he provided that, this education consultant provided it to these summer camp students free of charge to help guide them on what their gifts and strengths were to help prepare them for high school, and what academies they might need to be applying for if it's a vocational trade or CTE or a 4-year college or a 2-year certification. But I was extremely impressed, and I would say get over there and check it out.
Sounds like a tremendous opportunity for us. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. So we'll move on to the high school social studies units, the civic literacy, and I'll open it up for questions.
I think you've been extremely receptive to all the feedback. And again, we all know the struggle that you're going through with these new state standards. And I just want to thank you and commend you on the work you're doing. I just, again, want to make sure that all of our principals and social studies teams in all 53 schools are on the same page and sticking to the hard work that you've put together, and not deviating too much, because what you've done is really great.
Thank you very much.
And that will bring us to the 2022-2023 high school program of studies.
All right. We'll keep on going. Again, I'd like to say thank you to the social studies team. And as we transition to the program of studies, I want to say what a great opportunity it was for me as a new director to do that deeper dive into high school programming. And so with our efforts with that, we do have the program of studies for review. And I would just like to highlight some of the changes that occurred for next year. So the table of contents and the index, that will be aligned to page numbers once we have the final layout. Currently, the page numbers do not match with the draft. We also changed the naming of guidance counselors to school counselors. That's the current language that we utilize for that. With Career and College Promise, we made some updates to reflect pathways, processes, and the reimbursement information for textbooks. You can find that on page 7. For graduation requirements, it reflects the new social studies courses, of course. Changes in OCS where basically there's been a name change from the OCS preparation courses to the employment preparation courses, and that can be found on page 9. as well as those changes are noted in the appendix on page 116. Looking at diploma enhancements, we changed the language to reflect the 5 endorsements in the state board policy on page 14. So those 5 endorsements are the career endorsement, the college endorsement, college UNC endorsement, NC Academic Scholars endorsement, and the global language endorsement. We are keeping the AP Capstone Diploma recognition and the commercial recognition programs. We did remove global scholars based on principal input. And now that we have global languages, this is an initiative that replaced the global scholars. Yes. And another change are 2 new course additions. Film and literature can be found on page 33 and athletic management 1 on page 50. And this is where we followed our process to add new courses. And this is a principal driven process. For the CTE section, there's been a reorganization. It was reorganized into 3 components for a concise flow. So we have the academy section, and there may have been some name changes in there and or course updates. It's also in alphabetical order. Then the next section is the program areas, and this has course descriptions, and it does identify any credentials or certifications. However, the 3rd section goes into detail with the credentials and certifications, and that new section can be found on page 109. And instead of having the credential details throughout the CTE section, it was pulled out separately for the details. The Appendix 1 grievance procedure was changed to appeals and follows our current Board of Education policy on page 114. And then with non-traditional high schools, CATA will include the addition of the IB pathway program on page 3. And on page 4, CATA will be added in that section as well for their IB pathway program. So our next steps, we will work on the registration form. It'll be developed in December and January. We are looking to reference the page numbers in the program of studies for students and for parents, whether it's the digital or a paper version. And we'll continue and begin that layout process. So with that, I'll open up to questions.
So the things that I looked at last night looked really, really great. I even noticed that our board members had been updated on the back cover. So Reverend Kirkpatrick is now listed. So that's wonderful. CTE, I cannot stress this enough because this is my 7th year. Gary and I, 7th year on the board. I continue to be shocked that parents still don't know that we have trades in our high schools. So I just want to confirm, is that CTE page going to be in every program of studies? And are we getting this word out on what high school students, at our 8th, early as 8th grade, we need to be hitting this hard, to let middle school students know what they can do when they arrive in 9th grade. And that if they can provide transportation or if guidance counselors need to let us know what the transportation needs are, if the numbers are good enough, then the board needs to be aware in the budget process on how to, what programs are really getting a lot of interest, but transportation, might be an issue. Mm-hmm. But we have got to go hard on the CTE because I think post-COVID, there was already a trend of fewer students going to a 4-year college. Mm-hmm. And I think now with the downturn in the economy and maybe fewer students are going to be going to a 4-year university. A 4-year university is not for everyone. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And we really need to stress our CTE academies because our CTE department is doing an amazing job. So maybe put a tab on that page or something.
Yes, and part of our process to update the program of studies is we had a counselor work group, and I think the counselors were able to dig in as well and glean some understandings of that. So I do believe that that will help, and I do think the next event is a high school expo, December 4th.
Oh, December
And
4th,
that will
fantastic.
really highlight
Market it.
CT. Yes.
So my last question, and I'm sure other board members have questions. My last question is, it's been a while since the Merrill children were in high school. So I remember that they got a hard copy of the program of studies, I believe, in their 9th grade year, or when they were entering 9th grade. Is that still the process, or does every high school student get an updated version all 4 years, or do they only get one paper version in 9th grade? If you can talk me through that, and then piggyback where the digital version can be found for parents that want to take a look at this.
Sure. So when the registration process happens for our rising 9th graders, they will get the hard copy of the program of studies.
Okay.
And then it is also housed under on the UCPS website under secondary education. It can be found there.
Secondary education. Because I don't know if they're making it home in the backpacks or not.
Right.
But again, I continue to be surprised that parents don't know what I'm talking about when I say, have you looked in the program of studies? But at least there's a digital version too. I almost wonder if those hard copies should be mailed home, or parents allowed maybe a Connect Ed go out where parents can be notified that they can pick theirs up at their home school, or check the backpack.
I think that's a great point. Just making sure that we're communicating out when they do go home to make sure that the parents see them when they come home. And at any time, if a parent needs a hard copy, even if it's the school printing out a copy and then making that available to the parent, we will do that. Because, with internet and everything else, it may not all of our families have that, right? And so we ensure all of our parents, and I hope they're listening, is that we will make sure they have a hard copy.
When did you say that this actually goes out and gets in the hands of students?
Registration process will start in February.
In February for current 8th graders?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm wondering if that's almost too late. If you're already into the last semester of your 8th grade and you're discovering something, that bumps right up against the lottery at CATA from a time frame. So I'm wondering if you're almost too late there. I would also suggest, I like the email idea, emailing a link to this thing. But boy, I'll tell you, catching them in 7th grade almost isn't too early. I know it could change, but good grief, I have a hard time keeping them all straight and which school has what. And, my son all of a sudden starts getting interested in cooking and he wants to go over to the Culinary Academy at CATA or something. At Porter Ridge. And I didn't know about it till he's a freshman in or 9th grade, you call it now, that kind of thing. So I think we need to think about the timing of getting this out. And I don't think you can do it too much. I don't think there's such a thing as overkill of getting this, as long as we're not killing too many trees but making it available and making it known it's available and where it is and the purpose. I'm thinking we need to start a lot sooner than February of their eighth grade.
Too bad Dr. Jones is no longer with us here today. He was here earlier, but maybe Dr. Jones and Dr. Breedlove and your team could work with the middle school principals and maybe just have a parent night, to do a presentation on the program of studies to say, before you know it, your student's going to be signing up for high school. So maybe you could kind of get rolling just from a PTO or a parent night at our middle schools.
Yeah, let's look at some, all the alternatives for marketing this information.
And
Absolutely.
even with that, all of these ideas are great, but we have to, parents, as I hope you're parents, you have to parent your child, and you have to involve yourself in these opportunities. I mean, I was sitting here when you all were sharing, and this scenario came to my head. So you talk to a kid and you say, and the kid says that I'm hungry. And so you ask them, well, why didn't you eat? Well, there could be two reasons. You didn't eat because you didn't like what was fixed, or you didn't eat because there was nothing for you to eat at home. So you have to make sure that we understand the reasons why. And there are some reasons where there are opportunities presented, and some people just don't take advantage of it. And so I don't want you all to feel like you all are not doing your job when you all are putting things together and you're emailing and you're knocking on doors and you're doing drive-by parades and everything to get them to get involved. I mean, because it can be very disheartening. But then there are some situations where, for whatever, they just don't know. Life is busy, and so, and other things take precedence over what should be important, and so I think we just have to really, like you said, that if we ever do the PTO or the parent night, parents, if these opportunities are presented to you, make yourself available. And if you cannot attend, then let the administrators, the counselors know, I wasn't able to come, but I'm still interested in making sure that my child or my children receive the best education that they can. So,
Well, and also the December 4th Expo, because it'll have all the CTE,
Yes.
plus it'll have IB. It has everything. So, I mean, if they could attend that, it's a
Yeah.
Saturday. I mean, that would be a great way. We really need to push that, and it's going to happen before our next board meeting.
do y'all have flyers?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we talked about a couple of months ago was in preparation for this expo, our principals and teachers and guidance counselors need to be promoting this. And if there's a student who doesn't have transportation on that Saturday to get there, I know we talked about this a while back, but I don't want to forget about the students whose parents may work on Saturday.
Yeah.
Or they're, or maybe they go stay with their grandparents, or step parents or whatever, and they just don't have transportation. So we need to find out, do we need to have activity buses or something, or shuttle buses or something to help get, our scholars to that expo?
I'll take it a step further. We might want to consider having more than one and having them on a regionalized basis. So it's closer in your neighborhood. The other thing I would suggest is, and I don't know if they do that now, but each exhibitor, why don't we have a video option that's on our website where each display does a quick presentation, then you host.
They have that.
They did that?
They did it because virtually last year. So
Oh,
CTE,
because they had to do it, because they didn't
Yes.
have it in person.
So it's all housed, and you can go and look at any of those whenever.
Let's do that, even though we're having the in-person again for somebody who can't be there. If somebody gives a 1 minute, 2 minute spiel on their presentation for their curriculum.
Or maybe someone with a GoPro and they walk through, so they can actually watch online as if they're walking through the let us know if you have any GoPros available.
So thank you for adding the page numbers, because I did help a friend's daughter do registration last year, and it was the electives. Everything else was great. It was just the electives was really hard to, we had the book, and then luckily if you do it online, you can search the program of studies, which was quicker. But so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And hopefully maybe we'll be doing something with 8th graders in the spring where we're going to offer meetings with families and the student to kind of go over, what do you think you're interested in? I know it's a big idea, I get, but if we could even try it at one school that has, a willing population, I just think it would be a great way to get everybody, if they know what they want to do, let's plan it out, because no matter what it is, if it's a trade, if it's college, like you do have to be prepared before high school.
And if you miss the mark in ninth grade, it really puts you behind. So Dr. Breedlove, you bring up a great point. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Perhaps after this meeting, I talk with you and share that contact from the Leadership Academy. The gentleman, he has, he would love to work with Union County Public Schools, and maybe he can talk to you about that that questionnaire. I forget the name of it. I apologize, but it helped those students this summer figure out what their strengths were, and then identified their strengths with potential areas of study. So let's talk about that.
We have Major Clarity, which kind of does similar, but then it's more, I know, so
Yeah.
that would be great if we could get more students involved with that. Just because I tried it and it was fun. It was interesting, just to see where it leads you. And then you really can figure out like what it would cost if you have to go to college for that thing. I mean, it really helps you plan. So
I will say just a quick plug for Mr. Davis and the CTE program, again, Major Clarity. And they just received, our district just received Power Users, the first, we are the first school system in the region to receive that. And it doesn't mean that we're there yet, right? We still have students that have not fully logged in, but more so than any other district, our students are logging in and they are using it, which is a far cry from where we were with our other program, if you all remember back in the day. But they really have done a good job of pushing that out within our CDCs. And of course, we have now 2 CDCs that represent middle schools that we've never had before as well. And they're going out and working with schools and getting students signed in and logged in so they can do those career development pathways.
Major
and look at that.
Clarity is on every UCPS device available.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if parents are listening in or watch this at a later date, all they have to do is sit down with their student and ask their student to open their laptop. Is Major Clarity on the
on the
homepage?
homepage of Canvas?
So it is through Clever. They can access it through Clever, just like many of their other applications, and it's for every student 6 through 12. We pay for that. Yes.
So Clever is the program that would pop up on the Canvas page.
Yes, the single sign-on as they log into their My NCA cloud.
Okay.
And I know when I came to visit you, you mentioned that like there's certain schools that are really leaps and bounds doing really well with Major Clarity. Maybe we should do a contest to see which school can get the most use.
It was really exciting to celebrate. Yesterday, as many of you know, was proclaimed CDC Day, and we recognized our CDCs, and they do a great job. And one of the things that we really were highlighting yesterday, and thanks to Dr. Breedlove for coming and visiting, was our success with Major Clarity. And we monitor that on a weekly basis, and the numbers are going up every day. And we're really excited about that, and we're already beginning to see some of the data, and I think it's going to be very useful for us.
Now, since you came up to the podium, talking about CTE, where are we getting the grants and the funding to get the EV auto mechanics program at CATA?
So good question. We did meet with DPI. We met with several industry partners. One of the things that we're looking at to do that, DPI is not ready to make that move just yet to create that state level course, but what we're looking at is working to implement some of those concepts in a couple of our local courses. I've been working with the teachers on that, also talking to some industry partners with some of the curriculum that we've got from Ford and some of those other dealers. What we're hoping we can do is use that content in those courses, and as it continues to grow, potentially create a local course that we have in Union County Public Schools until the state decides to
Like
move
an
that way.
elective or something.
Correct. Just in what we call a major course, something
Major
that would
course.
follow some of the auto service 1, 2, and 3 courses.
And since Mr. Sod shamelessly plugs CATA, I am going to shamelessly remind you of South Providence, anything that we can help those students, because it's my understanding anything auto related over there, the students are really enjoying that program. So let's don't forget about South Providence, because I think
Absolutely.
this would be so helpful.
Absolutely. And the automotive teacher at South Providence is the teacher of the year out there this year. He does a great job. Absolutely. Yes, sir. He teaches auto fundamentals and he teaches small engines and does a great job out there.
Let me tell you, there's a demand for small engine repair. You can't find somebody to fix a weed eater in this county.
There really is. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and our industry partners are more and more engaged with what we're doing. We've had a very successful advisory meeting about a month ago. Very good feedback from them, and I'm looking forward to good things in the future with it.
One last observation, Dr. Rogers. It may have been the last one we had before COVID, the expo I attended. It was at Porter Middle, and it was because the interest, it was packed to the gills. And I'm wondering if somewhere like Ag Center,
That's where it will be.
that's where
Yes,
we'll be.
sir.
Well, you
Yes,
read
sir.
my mind. Then okay.
Well, thank you, Dr. Rogers. This looks fantastic. Thank you for all the updates and edits and changes. That brings us to our closing items. Items to be taken to the full board will be the low-performing NC Star restart plans for Monroe Middle School and East Union Middle School. Fantastic presentations today. I know the board will appreciate this. Our social studies curriculum for civics and elementary for the third grading period, and the 2022-2023 high school program of studies. Our next meeting date will be December 16th at 10 a.m. here at the PDC if needed. So we'll just watch the calendar on the website to see if we need to have that meeting or not. If there are no other questions, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I have one quick question. Dr. Rogers, any adjustments that are made to the inquiry 6 influential figures of change and innovation? Could adding additional figures or however it's adjusted, could you send it out to the committee to review? I'll trust your good choices as far as how to do it and who to add, but I'd just like to see it after if I could. Thank you.
I don't have a question, but I would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I know we'll meet afterwards, but I would like to say in my short period of time, I'm very thankful that I have met you guys. I know there are days that we don't agree, days that we do, and that's a part of family. That's a part of humankind. And, but I appreciate you all very much. And I said from the bottom of my heart that I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and that I pray that you all stay safe and just find time to reminisce over in the midst of all of this chaos and confusion that we are all a part of. Just find time to find something to be thankful for. And so not just you guys, but even our absent board members and those who are watching, and just be safe and happy Thanksgiving.
We return Thanksgiving to you and our new board member. We love having your feedback and bringing your expertise to our board and to our 53 schools. So happy Thanksgiving to Union County Public Schools and all of Union County. And I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye. Okay, thank you, everyone.